Welcome everyone, this is the Cobalt Helper with house rules that make sense for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. First off, we're going to talk about random encounters. So, why do we even need random encounters? We've created a dungeon, we spent a lot of time putting it in the monsters. Shouldn't that be good enough? No! Because we have to deal with the problem of the players resting all the time. What stops a player from going into the first room, using all their best spells, all their best abilities, getting the treasure, killing the monsters, and simply then saying, I'm going to take a long rest, or I'm just even going to leave the dungeon and take a long rest? There's got to be some sort of objective mechanic that makes that not a good choice. We don't want the players to feel like you're arbitrarily punishing them, so it's got to be something they understand and is based on a mechanic. So, for short rests, I have them roll a d12. So I'm very upfront about this. On a 1, it's a deadly encounter. On a 2, it's dangerous. On a 3, it's a setback. If you choose to make a short rest, and you can choose that whenever you want, you have the consequence of a random encounter. So it becomes a tactical decision for the players. Is it worth it? Or should we press on? There is some incentive now to press on and try to get as much treasure as we can without risking a possible deadly encounter, which could turn everything sideways. Now, for long rests, they have to roll 3 times. So upping the ante, if of those 3 they get an encounter, that's it. But it's just a bigger chance that you're going to get some kind of negative encounter, which in the end, it's basically it's a form of a resource drain. I mean, it'd be nice if the rules as written had some sort of actual explanation on the right way to handle it. It doesn't. So this is what I do. I rely on the D12, 1, 2, or 3 for that. Now, the other reason you might want to have random encounters, though, is you don't want your dungeon to just feel like an amusement park where the monsters are just standing there in the room waiting for the heroes to show up. You want it to feel dangerous. You want it to feel like anything could happen at any moment. Especially as if they clear a certain section of the dungeon and they leave and they come back because they're dawdling around and they're maybe looking for some treasure they think might be there. There should still be a sense of danger. They shouldn't just be, oh, we've cleared this. This is ours. So that's where if they trek back to an area, by my judgment, that takes a certain enough time, that's when I would call for another random check, another D12 roll. And they know it. I call it, do that up front, and then have them have to have the tension of deciding, is it worth it? So it's not me punishing them. It's me telling them this is how it is, and you can totally choose what you want. I think that's key. I think that's key on when to call for the random encounters and putting it in their hands. And they know objectively what the risks are and what the role is. And then, it's always fun then when they who's of the players is gonna make that roll. And I don't want to do it. You do it. That could be kind of fun too. All right. So that is house rule for when you should call for the chance of random encounters to make sure players are not resting too much and or dawdling about. Have you tried Cobalt Helper? Simply go to cobalthelper.com, click on Go to DM Setup, get your combat set up, add a monster, nice gallery of all the SRD content, find what you need, goblins for example, punch them in, creates unique names, tracks all the things you need. Let's get a few goblins in there. Wham! I got 3 goblins, I'm ready to go. Simply tell your players we're going to join a session code of your choice, doesn't matter what it is. Zombie 21, hit setup, start broadcasting. Wham! We got Alina who's already joined. We're ready to go. It'll auto roll initiative, preserve over the initiative over rounds, or not. If you want to punch everything in, uncheck, no problem. I like to roll it automatic. Boom! We're off and running. Alina has initiative. The key here is that you can easily and quickly remember stats and attributes about your creatures, including health. I'm going to just punch a few in right now, just so you can see. And your player, you get a nice SRD content for your quick reference as you go to your monsters. Your players are seeing a nice stack of all the creatures, whose turn it is, what effects they have, and quickly reminding everybody that Goblin 2 is stunned, so I as the DM have a lot going on. I don't accidentally forget, and then also players don't have to keep asking me. They can simply make their plans based on the fact that that Goblin is stunned. And there you have it. Got a nice dice roller to use. Lots of cool features. Cobalt Helper, totally free. Check it out. Okay, next up is house rule for detecting secret doors. Why do we need a house rule? What's the problem? You just simply make an ability check against the DC, right? Wrong. The nuance is, the problem is, in practice, they, as the heroes trek through your dungeon, I want to check for secret doors. They go around another corner. I want to check for secret doors. They go into any room. I want to check for secret doors. Constantly, monotonously taking up time rolling when you know in fact there's no secret door there. It bogs down the game. So there's got to be a better way. There's just got to be a better way, in my opinion. So this is the house rule. The house rule is that I explain to them. Again, you want to be very upfront with the players. I'm going to assume you are constantly alert and surveying your grounds as you go by, looking for something that looks like a secret door or something that looks suspicious. That's just an assumption I'm going to make. So there is no need for you to tell me I'm searching for secret doors, ever. But objectively, what does that mean? As you come into a room, I, behind the screen, silently am going to make a roll. Let's say it's based on perception. I'm going to take the best perception of whoever's coming in the room and make the roll. And if it's high enough, I'm going to announce that you see something suspicious in the corner. It's a secret door. Otherwise, you see nothing. Now, that doesn't stop the players. To be very clear, that's just replacing this monotonous I search for secret doors call. If, as you interact with the room, I describe there's a chest in the corner. A player says I go over to the chest and I pull it and I want to look underneath it. That's fine. That's now that I might go ahead and make another behind the screen roll to see whether or not they notice that there was a secret trap door underneath it, because they've taken a new action. They've taken a new approach, and that calls for a further, deeper investigation. No problem. Now the other thing to consider here is the party just is really sure there's a secret door in this room for some logical and reasonable reason. They've been traveling around the dungeon. They've gotten information, and they've deduced there's got to be a secret door here. I'm not going to simply say, well, you failed it. That's it. And I'm not going to make them fumble around literally trying to tell me exactly what they're searching. I'm going to simply allow for a mechanic I call scouring. They're going to declare we want to scour the room. We're going to check every brick. We're going to check every crack. We're going to check every pillar because we're sure there's something here. And so what's the consequence of that? Why wouldn't we just scour every room? Because I'm going to make them do a random encounter check. So you're taking the time to scour the room. You weren't able to just go over and pull over the chest and then figure out there's something underneath it. But there's a room here. There is a way, a mechanic for you to do that. Make the random encounter check, deal with the random encounter, and then if you get past that, and then I'm just going to announce you find the trapdoor under the chest, because you were willing to scour the room. So it makes sense to me. Let's get rid of them constantly asking to do secret doors checks over and over and over and over, especially when I know there isn't one there. It's very, very monotonous and definitely, like I said, bogs down the game. So this house rule makes it much more efficient. Now, the other thing I'll mention here is what you don't want to be doing, and I think this house rule gets you there, is players go into a room and you ask them to make a perception check. You're just shooting up a red flare that there is something in this room, and you, like, even if they fail it, they're gonna, well, there's something here, and then it's just gonna be awkward and weird. Everyone's gonna want to keep checking. Ugh, not good. Don't do it that way. Yeah. So that is it. Oh, and then also, I don't think this rule negates or passive checks. Passive checks are you automatically find it. This is just a roll, but it's a roll that I am automating behind the scenes instead of constantly every step they take having to ask, I want to check, because you'd be on alert in the dungeon anyway. So that's it for my house rule on detecting secret doors. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.